Okay, so last time we spoke about O-Town, we didn't find much to like.
No.
Because it was about wet dreams.
Mm-hmm. And it was just, I think they thought it was creative. It was way too much. Way too much for me. And even 17, would have been 16-year-old Scott, I didn't engage with that track at all. There was nothing in it for me.
But being a debut track, it's the Katy Perry thing, isn't it?
Yes.
There you go, it's come back around. This one, altogether less offensive. Or is it offensive in its own way? Well, I don't know. We'll find out. This is O-Town and their second single, because they got a second single, would you believe? All or Nothing.
So this is a Wayne Hector and Steve Mac production, and it is the second single from the debut album O-Town. I'm sitting thinking, why do I know all the words to this? Can you guess why I know all the words to this?
Westlife?
Yeah, so Westlife brought this out, in the mid-noughties somewhere?
2006.
2006? Yeah, I know the Westlife version. And then for some strange reason, I always thought the Westlife version was a Mariah cover.
Yeah.
Is this the original of this track?
This is the original of this track. And it was offered to Westlife first, which makes sense because Steve Mac and Wayne Hector were Westlife's writers pretty much.
Yeah.
Simon Cowell turned it down, so O-Town got it. And it went on to become, their big hit. It was their big break. I mean, Westlife didn't need this. Westlife didn't need this because they already had bigger hits than this.
Yeah.
But this galvanised O-Town and made them more than a band who sung about, spunk in the sheets. This was Song of the Year in the 2001 Radio Music Awards. It was Billboard's number 16 in the 100 Greatest Choruses of the 21st Century in 2017. I mean, this is altogether more successful than Liquid Dreams. Both commercially and just morally, I guess, as well, because it isn't about spunk, and there's no spunk involved, which is great. And I think the band like it a lot more too. They were asked about this, and they sort of said that they're glad that they're famous for All or Nothing and not Liquid Dreams, because, I mean, you would be, wouldn't you?
Imagine going through that full process of reality TV in the noughties and then getting there and be like, we've won. And the track you get is Liquid Dreams.
Yeah.
And, imagine if all of them, how many is there, 4 or 5 of them?
5.
Imagine all of them were actually really, we don't like this track. We really don't like this track. And then having to release it.
They're a Lou Pearlman band, and he was quite forceful, so you can imagine that they just didn't have much say in it at all.
No. And you wouldn't pipe up at this point, would you? And I remember Girls Aloud actually saying we hated the video to, was it No Good Advice, where they were bouncing around in the car?
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing something where we didn't like that.
Oh,
and then on reflection now, they've gone back and they've said we just did what we were told because we had to, and actually they were right. Mm-hmm. And then
I agree.
You learn how to challenge and learn what to do a lot of the time. But lyrically, I like this. I think it's very sweet.
Yep.
I don't think it's too pervy.
Nope.
I don't feel it's very sex offendery.
No.
It's not very mansplainy.
No.
I think this is a much better first track. This is what the lead track would have been had they been a British band on a British TV program. This is what would have whipped out.
It's X Factor winner's single, isn't it? I mean, think of Shane Ward. Think of, even Steve Brookstein did Against All Odds. It's one of those tracks, isn't it? And it's also a Westlife track, and it sounds as well. And I wonder why I remember it so much. It's because the Westlife one is used as an X Factor song.
Yes,
in the background of emotional audition.
Are we picturing Rylan squealing like a wailing banshee with Nicole Scherzinger throwing the most judgmental looks you've ever seen in your life? Because I didn't watch that. I was gone from X Factor by then, but I've seen that moment as some of the worst reality TV moments, or is it the best? I don't know. To me, they're the worst. Yeah. But yeah, I think that might be a Rylan moment, really.
I think it's more like one of those ones where they play the VT first and they live in a council house and they've had family die and stuff. It's one of those ones where it's kind of it's against all odds. And it turns out that even though they live in a council house and they're northern and they're in the minds of the judges and the production team scum, they've got a good singing voice. It's a Susan Boyle. It's one of those ones we go she doesn't stand a chance. Then she has an amazing voice and they'll go, oh, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
I hate the narrative of these programs.
Horrible.
I could never watch them until live shows because I hated the fact they took the piss out of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really struggled with that.
Out.
And I hated that people laughed at it, and it's still on my timelines. People are look at the state of this guy. Who's that? I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Really, really, really. Oh, I'm a whingy bitch today, aren't I?
I know. There's a Billboard interview in 2019 and they were talking about the song and the fact that it was, in the list of big hooks. And Eric Michael from the band says it's a big moment because it was the last boy band song of that era, the last big boy band song of that era. Right. That's what he says. And it's funny because Destiny's Child, the song before this, was the last girl band #1 on the Billboard. Is this band
ever? Ever?
There hasn't been another one since. There hasn't been a girl band #1 on the Billboard since Bootylicious.
Whoa.
Is this a defining era of pop music because these band songs are dissipate. And it's true that in America you got Fifth Harmony, who were a big deal. Little Mix aren't quite as big a deal. They're not Billboard #1 caliber. Boy bands aren't really a thing anymore because One Direction sort of finished them off.
Did they not get a Billboard #1?
Well, if they did, they're a boy band, but...
Oh, yeah, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, no. Little Mix again. Yeah, I think Little Mix would need the right track to break America to get the #1.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything they've got at the moment. The vibe that they're at the moment probably isn't even it.
NME, who are normally quite sniffy, gave this 4.5 stars out of 5. They called them the most exciting boy band in the world right now, and this the song was a mighty meatloaf of a ballad that could jerk tears from the hardest of hearts. NME.
Ooh, NME said that. Aye. That's so strange.
That's such a contrast to Liquid Dreams, isn't it?
I think that is pretty much, ignore the boy band, I think that they're just Brown Nose and Steve Mack and Wayne Hector at this point.
That's
what it's about.
To get on the tour bus.
Yeah.
YouTube comment says, it's got it all. A guy wearing a leather jacket over a denim jacket, a guy in business attire, the Rasta white guy, the cut-off hoodie dude, and frosted tips. And it works. You do look at the video and you think this is a boy band that's been cobbled together, don't you? Like, they are all such different. Like, Westlife all coordinated in their blue suits.
Yeah.
And this lot are just dragged off the street.
The video for me was really disjointed. The video looked like it should have been the set for a rock track.
Yes.
And then they're doing this, which is just a bit odd for me. But I was not expecting to like this.
Nope.
Looked at the list of tracks and thought, I can fly through that one, and actually it did engage me more. I do think a lot of that is Westlife memories.
Yeah.
But
I like this more than the Westlife one, personally.
I think I do now too.
Yeah.